I'm Ariana Huffington, and I'm so excited for the new season of the Thrive Global podcast. We'll be sitting down with everyone from the Broad City creators Ilana Glazer and Abby Jacobson to Michelle Phan and Sophia Bush as we explore how they go from surviving to thriving and how you can too. iHeartRadio is #1 for podcasts, but don't take my word for it. Find Thrive Global on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Incredible Health with Dr. David Vitko.
Good morning, my dear friends, and welcome to another installment of Enjoy Incredible Health. I am your host, Dr. David Vitko. I'm a chiropractic physician with 34 years of practice experience. I'd like to think that I've helped a lot of people to discover better health and a better life during those 34 years. Yeah, there might have been a couple of years in there where I missed a beat. I don't know. You know, it's pretty tough to do something consistently well for 34 years. But I'd like to think I did mostly good. So just really giddy to be back here again. It's every morning is a treat and a gift from God. And, you know, when you live in Ohio, it's kind of tough to say that. I got up this morning after kind of freezing all night. And that's another issue I'll go through. My body doesn't seem to ever warm up anymore. But it is, you know, when you wake up and it's cloudy and gloomy and you look outside your window, and I've got a nice view of the woods outside my bedroom window, and we've got nice gray and brown trees. And thank God there's an occasional squirrel to entertain us and the cats. But, you know, other than that, it's tough this time of year. And it gets tougher in January when we get to the point where there's no football and, you know, nothing to keep our little simple minds amused. And we have to keep going through winter. But we get through winter every year somehow. And this year I'm complaining less about it because every day is a gift. And every day getting up in the morning does not always feel like a gift these days. But to open my eyes and know that I'm still breathing and alive is a gift. And it's funny how sickness will make you appreciate the small things like that and make other things that you might not have even noticed come to light. You know, things like it's the little things. My wife posted something on Facebook yesterday, something about appreciating the little things. And it is very true that, you know, we go through life and we really don't even think much about those little good things that happen from time to time. They just kind of skip on by, and then we focus on the bad things. Why is that we do that? But there's nothing like having some sort of illness to center your thoughts on seeing good things in life. It's amazing how those things come to light because of that. So, in all honesty, folks, I have nothing to go on today other than I'm going to talk about the thing that I'm most excited about in treating my own cancer, and because I know it can help millions of other people if we could reach those people, and that's how something really good travels, by word of mouth. When people hear it and they pass it on to someone else, and that's my goal here. We're just trying to educate people and help people get smarter to the point where they can make themselves healthier and stay healthier. So if you'd like to call in during the show, you're welcome to do so. I'll be happy to take your calls, questions, and discussion. I like to hear people's stories about their cancer treatment, about how things worked out for them, whether they've had remissions, whether they've had reoccurrences, whatever. And specifically esophageal cancer, it doesn't matter though, because all cancers have more similarities than they have differences. So the number here is 330-729-9977. That's 330-729-9977. And we'll get with you here in just a little bit with the first call. So yesterday, just to give you a little explanation, I may sound a little groggy today. Yesterday was a long, tough day. Yesterday started out to be a 4-hour job to pick something up in Akron and return home to Columbiana with it. And it turned into a 14-hour day of stress and emotional stress and physical stress. And I'm going to tell you the story, and I'm going to wait till the second half of the show because I don't want to put you to sleep. But it was a pretty tough day. So I didn't get actually home till about 9:30 last night. And by the time I showered and got settled down and got actually some kind of a little bit of decent sleep, I didn't have time really to put a show together. So I'm working off of what I did all week. So I'm not going to be apologetic about that, because every day I am experimenting with and learning about treating cancer yourself. And the biggest thing that I've learned over the last several weeks has to do with heat and heat therapy. And the exciting thing is it's something that's completely applicable to ourselves and by ourselves, and it doesn't cost a ton of money, and it's very effective according to the research. And I'll be honest, it's probably the first thing I've done that I've noticed a significant difference already. Now, whether that's imaginary or not, I don't know. We'll see. But we're gonna give that a shot over the next week or so and find out. So today I'm a little beat up, a little tired. I'm amazed that I was able to get out of bed at all. I'm sure by the grace of God that I am here. He must think I have something important to share with you, and I'm going to try to do that this morning. But first, we're going to talk to Denny. I assume this is Denny in Rock Creek. Is it, Denny?
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm calling about heat.
Okay.
And you said you're cold at night and trying to beat the winter doldrums. What I do, and I discovered this back in 2000, I bought a wood stove and put it in the living room. And you got immediate heat. The closer you get to it, the warmer you get, and then if you get too warm, you back away. But you can really feel the heat that way, and you don't have to have the whole house uniform temperature and a medium type of heat. But it takes effort, work, and studying to know how to run a wood stove. My neighbor just had a chimney fire across the street.
Yep.
So it
Very
can
dangerous.
be dangerous, but it gets me through the winter.
I used a wood stove for years, and most important thing is to have hydration there. So I would always keep a pot of water on my wood stove to keep the air moist. Otherwise, all your wood dries out in the house. But
you know what I do? I hang my clothes upstairs in the back bedroom, and I don't use the dryer so I'm not burning electric.
There you go.
And you get moisture back in the air through hanging your clothes inside.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say
trick.
is it's a good thing you don't live in California. They'd probably have you in prison, and they would have confiscated your wood stove because you are polluting the air there, my friend. So.
Yeah. I guess you're supposed to have it certified. I never had mine certified, but it's a modern stove. It's got a catalytic converter.
I kid, but I've heard that in California it's almost impossible to build a house with a fireplace, and even wood stoves have to be a specific kind. And it's gotten a little ridiculous. You're right. A wood stove is a great way to heat the house, and it probably would help in my situation. The problem is, when you have an illness, like a long-term, a chronic illness, something that, really kind of debilitates you, pretty tough to keep the wood stocked up. You're buying wood anyway and keeping it stoked.
Yeah, it does take some effort, but it gives you physical exercise, and I enjoy it. Since 2000, I've been burning, and I just love it. But someday I'm going to get too old, and I'm not going to be able to do it. And I'll probably feel sad because I can't have that live fire next to my living room. But anyhow, it's a great way to go if you got, and you can buy firewood if you can't get out there and cut it yourself.
That's right. It can be dangerous, though, so you need to be careful. I've always told people when I had my wood burner, the best site I found was a Canadian wood burning site. There's a Canadian government site on the internet that has all the information you need about safely operating a wood burner, and that was a gold mine for me. And so that really helped me, and we didn't have any chimney fires over the years, which is a big thing. So, hey, Danny.
You got to educate yourself on it before you start it.
I got to run. Thanks for calling, buddy.
Okay.
Take care. Okay, folks. So, so yesterday was a tough day, and all week this week, I kind of pushed myself and to the limit with this little heat thing. And Denny's comments about the wood burner, it's all great and all. for normal keeping yourself warm. But people out there who have had cancer or who have some form of cancer and go through these temperature fluctuations in your body and difficulties in staying warm, or then you're sweating and then you get all soaked and then you're chilled to the bone, and it's an up and down thing. And there are some cancers that are worse with that. There are a lot of illnesses, let's face it. This time of year, the flu can do that to you with fever. And so that can be a challenge. Now, so I throw into the mix this work that I'm doing, and I call it work because I'm keeping notes and I'm studying and I'm trying to learn from it. But the way to treat cancer at home with heat as one of my mechanisms. Now, just a refresher for anybody who hasn't, heard my show in the past. I was diagnosed with esophageal cancer. It's an adenocarcinoma, not really one that you want. I got diagnosed back in July, and I chose not to go the traditional route of treatment because there were a lot of pitfalls, and there really wasn't a huge upside to it other than just life itself. And to me, there has to be a certain level of enjoyment in life to make that worthwhile. So I chose to go the natural route, not saying that I don't want to live, because I have a strong desire to live. And that's one thing that everyone needs who has cancer or any other chronic disease is you need to find that will to live. If you do nothing else, the first week of soul searching, which you'll do plenty of, you need to sit down and find the reasons that you want to live, and you need to put those reasons in front of you every day. And so I have my bulletin board in my office in front of my personal desk. I've got pictures of my family and little notes about things that I care deeply about. And, one of those for me is surviving this to be able to help other people. And because that's what I believe we were all put here on earth to do, is to help others in some way. You may not think so. And you may think I'm crazy for saying that. And there might have been a point in my life where I wouldn't have agreed with that either, when I was more self-centered. But it becomes pretty apparent, I think, the further you go in life, that there must be a bigger purpose for us to be here. You can only eat out at your favorite restaurant so many times. You can only drive around in your favorite sports car, or I think sometimes I would love to have one of my old hot rods that I had when I was a teenager, that I bought out of a field somewhere and patched up, fixed up, and got running and souped up. And I think, I would love to have that. But I had this discussion with my friend Jeff one time that I thought I wanted a boat that I had back when I was a teenager. But the more I thought about it, it was actually my youth that I was yearning for, not the boat. The boat was just a symbol of that. So, but you can only eat out so many times. You can only enjoy so many trips to the amusement park without getting to the point where you go, so what's the point? I've done this 100 times. So, what's the bigger point? Well, what we all get great satisfaction from is helping others. And whether you know that or not, whether you've recognized that or not, I guarantee that's true. I have yet to meet somebody who, when they help you, they don't get a little grin or a little smile, or you can just feel that feeling of warmth. And, I got this yesterday when I went, it was supposed to be a small little 4-hour job thing, and turned out to be a very stressful, long day. And a good friend of mine helped me out with that. And you find out, how good your friends are, when someone who actually has their own health concerns, comes out to help you out for a short time, and it turns into a long, grueling day, and they, you keep offering them chances to leave, to go, and they're suffering, and they stay, and they don't complain, and they just want to, help. And, you really see the depth of friendship in cases like that. But that can happen with anybody. I mean, it doesn't have to be friends. When you see somebody in need, isn't it great to just have the ability, if you have some skill? And I thank God for this every day, that I have several skills. I've been able to fix other people's cars for them. I've been able to help people with their health issues. at carpentry, I built a couple of houses myself. I've been blessed in having, I guess a multitude of marginal skills that I've been able to use to help other people, and that always makes me happy. And so this whole heat thing that I'm doing, I pray to God that it is going to save me because, I'm really putting a lot of effort into it, and I really believe in the research that I've read on it. But there's also that long-term potential payoff because many of these studies that I'm reading speak fluently about how it is well known that, heat therapy or, hyperthermia, as they like to call it in medicine when it's a little more scientific than just soaking in a hot bath. But frankly, unless you're doing a focused area, there's not a lot of difference between it, and they speak highly of the hot bath. So, why aren't we using that? Why isn't that common knowledge? Why isn't it that every person who gets a cancer diagnosis isn't sent home with instructions to soak in a hot bath every day? I don't know. And I'm not telling you to do it. If you have cancer, you need to read about it yourself. But I'm telling you that I have a deep cancer. The esophagus is not a shallow organ. It's buried, in the chest cavity. I make great efforts to heat that area to, a temperature of about 104 to 106 degrees every day for an hour. That's part of my effort killing those cancer cells. And those are the numbers that turn out to be very effective in killing cancer cells. And the funny thing isn't it funny how we are designed so exquisitely when you really look at the human body or any animal? Sadly, a lot of this research was done on, bunny rabbits and different animals that they did these tests on mice and things. And, but, it's given great information, great knowledge at the expense of these animals' lives. But all these numbers, they turn out to be true across the board for different cancers. And isn't it amazing that these temperatures, 104, 106, 107 degrees for an hour at a time, and the time is important, as is the temperature, but isn't it amazing that those temperatures and those times don't harm normal cells, healthy cells? So unlike chemotherapy, which is in many ways far more potent than this, but far more damaging in many ways as well. That's why chemotherapy knocks people down sometimes so severely, although they're getting better at controlling the dosage of that. And so you hear a lot more people saying, it wasn't that bad. But it still really depletes your immune system and really causes havoc in the body. But unlike chemotherapy, this heat therapy, which also is known to kill cancer cells, is consistent across the board, and it's not harmful to the healthy cells. So this means that you can actually work to build your immune system, which is what I work at every day. I'm not perfect at it, because I don't know if Jesus Christ himself could live tight enough, in a tight enough way to cure his cancer in this, because it takes a really big effort. So, it does take that effort, but it gives us that ability to walk the line and to build our immune system stronger as we try to kill the cancer cells and bolster our healthy cells. Now, that should be the gold standard, because we know it is a depleted immune system that is the major reason that cancers come back. It is the major reason that cancers form in the first place. I mentioned a long time ago that I thought my esophageal cancer could have come from taking Advil, taking a ibuprofen, not to mention a brand name, sorry about that, but taking one late at night, going to bed, without giving it enough time to actually get all the way into the stomach and maybe burned the inside of my esophagus. Well, even that would not have caused the kind of damage that could start a cancer if my immune system was not depleted to the point where my body couldn't fight that effort and replace those mucosal cells with other healthy mucosal cells. And that's how that whole ball of wax got started, that snowball rolling downhill where things started to go awry. And then once they do, then it's hard to stop that snowball, because it picks up speed and it picks up size. But so far, I think I've stopped mine, and I believe I'm starting to turn the corner on it. I actually had a very good week this week, energy-wise. If I could put in a 14-hour day yesterday and get home and still kind of not be able to fall asleep because I still had energy, my brain was still racing, I must be headed in the right direction. And so I have to give credit to all these things I'm doing in combination. I don't know what's having the biggest effect, but I do know that by combining these different treatments, the off-purpose medications that I take on it, so they're not meant for cancer, but they're known to kill cancer, the juicing of vegetables that I do every morning, I maybe miss 1 or 2 days a week with that, but otherwise I drink a big glass of vegetable juice every morning. And I try to eat the healthiest foods I can that I can get down. With esophageal cancer, it's pretty difficult at one point. I'm mostly liquids now. I can do some solid foods if I really take my time. I'm very careful. But soups are my gold standard for what I eat now. And I'm working on, I've been using commercial soups just for the simplicity of it because it just seems like there's not enough time in every day to do everything. But we're going to start doing more home-cooked soups and do things that I can tolerate. I can't tolerate soups with tomato in it. It's a little harsh on the esophagus. But I think over time that'll improve. And boy, what a day that's going to be when I can eat tomato basil soup again. There's one of those simple things that you don't think about day in and day out. So if today it's going to be a cold day, you're going to be sitting around maybe watching a little football and stuff. If you enjoy some pizza or some spaghetti sauce or some tomato basil soup, think of me and think how great that tastes and how hard it would be if you can't eat that for months on end. And I'm not asking for pity. I'm just asking you to be appreciative of what you have and thank God for those small things that some people really take for granted, but that we should all be thankful for every day. Because it's those small things that make the world a great place and make the whole difference if we just take time to appreciate them. So when we come back, we'll be come out on a break here shortly. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the heat therapy and my experience with that this past week. And I'm going to talk about where I'm headed with that because that's a big part of that therapy. And I think it's going to be very helpful to a lot of people. You don't want to jump into this willy-nilly. The heat thing, you need to make sure that you know what you're doing. And I'll give you a good example of why that's important when I tell you about what happened to me this past week. It's not all roses, let me tell you. There are things that you can do to help, but some of those things can border on dangerous if you're not careful and you don't do it thoughtfully. So you're listening to Enjoy Incredible Health with Dr. David Vitko, and I'm going to be back in just a few minutes, folks. And we got a caller on the line. Please stay on the line, and I'll get you as soon as we get back from the break. Thanks so much.
Welcome back to Incredible Health with Dr. David Vitko.
Alrighty, we're back. And I want to real quickly go through just my daily routine just to give you an overview idea of what somebody might do who is educated in health, who wants to live, who has cancer, and who has opted not to go through traditional treatment methods. And so these are the things that I've resolved to do daily that I think make a difference. And so which one is going to make the biggest difference? I'm not sure, but I know that they all can contribute. So we're going to I'm going to go through this real quickly, and then I'm going to take a phone call here. So every morning when I get up, we kind of have a routine, and Nisi just reminded me of this, that, the first thing I do when I get up is I put on some to make fresh ozone water. So, and we can talk more about ozone water down the road if anybody wants to call and ask about it. But basically, you use what's called an ozone generator, and it percolates through water, and that makes your water more oxygen concentrated. Cancer does not like oxygen. Cancer functions poorly in high oxygen environments. So you want to do things to increase the oxygen in your blood and around your cells. And so I do that. And I do that directly when I drink the ozone water, because part of my cancer is exposed on the inside of the esophagus, where that water passes through to the stomach. So that's pretty exciting. So I don't get excited every morning about it, but it is something that I keep in the back of my mind. And so then we go through the mundane things of having a cup of coffee and sitting and talking about the day for a half an hour while that's brewing. I also spend anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes doing a little light workout while the ozone water is cooking. It takes about 40 minutes to make a quart of ozone water. So there's time to do a lot of things there. And my workout basically is every morning I do at least 10 to 15 push-ups. I used to do 20. I'm down to 10 to 15 over time. But, hey, it's still something. I do crunches. I do some weights. I go from station to station. I just do a quick workout, but I get my heart rate up, for 5 to 15 minutes every morning. We make fresh vegetable juice, which Nisi and I both drink, and she drinks the ozone water too as well, because of the health aspects of that. Then we basically go to the office, see patients, and at lunchtime I try to eat something healthy. Now, like I say, it's down to mostly soups, but I occasionally can get some other things down without thinking too seriously about it. By the way, if you have low iron, I've gone to eating some cream of wheat, which really produces or provides a big chunk of your daily iron supplement or needs. Which helps tremendously if you've got some internal bleeding, which I do. And so my energy levels have been able to be maintained pretty good. Hey, I put in a 14-hour day yesterday. So, and I felt fatigued at the end of the day, but who wouldn't after a 14-hour day? So, and then in the evening I do my heat, and I'll talk about that in a little bit here. That's been an experience, and it's getting better as we go. I want to take a phone call, though. Mike's been nice enough to hang on, I think, all this time. Good morning, Mike. This is Dr. Vitko.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
All right. This is Mike and Niles. I talked to you probably about a month ago. You were just about going on the upswing on things and that. So, and it was funny because I saw a thing in the paper here about this alkali ozone water.
Right.
And you just happened to mention it, and I was going to ask you a question. Is that something that, because there's a thing in the paper here where you can buy it?
Okay, so here's the thing about true ozone water. Ozone itself is, to make ozone water, it has a half-life of about 24 hours. So, in other words, you're going to lose half of the value of the ozone in the water in 24 hours. So, it's really impossible to commercially produce an ozone water that's going to keep its strength. Over time, the molecule falls apart because
it says that here. It says lasts approximately 18 to 24 hours.
Okay, there we go. Then at least they're honest about that. Yeah. And but where can you buy that? Did you see it?
This was in the, believe it or not, if you ever saw the newspaper, it's a little one, the Review newspaper.
Right, sure, I know the Review. Yeah, there's East Liverpool and there's Poland and Canfield.
Yeah, Niles, and you can buy it where they print this. It says,
I'll check.
$2 per gallon.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, that's not a bad price because really it takes effort to produce. The problem is I don't know of any way to test the ozone levels in it. It's like I buy this other stuff that is aloe vera, distilled aloe vera water, and I don't know of any way to test the purity of it, but I can tell you that when I drink it, it's different than regular water. It has a different texture. And so that's the only thing I can say. So with the ozone water, when I make it myself, I know what I have. That's the only difference. And when you're treating something, it's nice to know you have full potency on it.
Right, because I heard you say that you boil it or you...
Well, I call it cooking it, but it's really not. It's just infusing oxygen through there's a little high energy, I don't know what it is, electrode or something that puts electricity into it, and that's what creates the ozone.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, would get and to use. Or
I would think that would be. Now I can't speak to the value of it because but and if you like the taste of it, you can once you taste ozone water, you can kind of tell the ozone taste, and you'll notice it'll have a little difference, almost like a grassy kind of taste. And so if you try it and you like it, hey, it's worth it. And
because it's like it says $2 per gallon. You bring your own container, but still, you could try a gallon, I guess, and see what it's like.
So here's the key to maintaining it in the best strength you can. Keep it refrigerated. It should be refrigerated, and keep the cap on tight. Yeah. And here's the other thing about ozone water: you should use a glass jar for it, because ozone is very corrosive, and it will eat the plastic, actually. It will start to degenerate the plastic on the inside. And so I use mason jars, and that's what I keep mine in, a glass mason jar, and I keep it refrigerated all the time.
Yeah. Is there anything to look for when you drink it? I mean, how do you feel better? Or is it just something that it's working on something, but you don't know it?
Yeah, some people do claim that they feel better because they know for a fact that it boosts the oxygen content of your blood. So they've done studies on that. So there is support for that. But for what I'm doing, I'm not going to see any outward signs of that. It's going to be a long-term thing.
Right.
And so, but it's like everything, Mike. I say, if you're going to do something, check it out thoroughly, and then keep your faith in it, and go for it. Because if you don't have faith in it, it's not going to work for you, no matter how powerful it is.
Right. And you mentioned about the cancer business, and I've been down that road between skin cancer, and I had a eye removed because it had a melanoma in it, and had a tumor in it, almost the size of the eyeball.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So, but that was back in 2016 I had that done. So,
okay.
So, it's there.
With melanoma.
It's part of life right now, and,
And you go on, right?
Right.
Exactly. That's the right attitude.
A little bit of time, but, you just, all of a sudden you find yourself, hey, I didn't even bother to worry about going outside or anything, and stuff like that. And you just get used to it. That's all.
Right.
But anyway, it's good to hear.
Good luck, Mike. Take care.
Same to you.
So long.
Bye-bye.
So that was a pretty good call from Mike, and got a little bit of information about locally available ozone water. That's kind of interesting. And we got another call on 2. Let's see if is this Bill?
Yes. Good morning, Dr. Vitko.
Hi, Bill. How you doing?
It's truly a blessing to be able to speak with you, sir.
Oh, thanks so much. Made my day.
Well, when you're talking about heat, it got my mind wandering. I wonder if studies have been done on cultures, desert cultures, maybe like Bedouins and different groups around the world that are exposed to high heats a lot. Is there a possible reduction in cancer among those populations? I don't know if anybody's checked into that.
Oh, they've checked into it, I guarantee it. But the problem with those studies is some of those are so complicated because you bring people's diets into it, their lifestyle, their heritage, their genetics. And when you complicate the studies with all those things, it's hard to separate out one thing like, the temperature of the climate they live in. And then there's other things too, because many of those hot climates, you have concerns about things like malaria and dengue fever and things like that because of insects and animals and things. So, it's very complicated, but from a treatment standpoint for your own health, I just think that, living in a warmer climate, it's like lifespan always seems to be longer. And maybe that's because everybody, as they get older, they move to that warmer climate, and that makes the lifespan go up there. But I don't know. But it's to me, it seems to make a lot of sense. So if you get a chance, you should read about it.
Yeah, well, I agree. There probably is something to it. I also think perhaps it's just being in water. You know, water is a key to life on this earth, and the way the heat is being applied through the use of water may also be creating that benefit to you.
Yeah, no, it's but the fact of the matter is they create heat in many different ways, and they all provide the same benefit. And so, yeah, no.
Yeah, but I know a lot of factory workers that work in a lot of heat, and you still get cancer. So there has to be a little more to it.
That's a pretty big, broad statement there, though, and that's where we get into trouble when we draw assumptions on things like that. But hey, I got to run, Bill. Thanks so much for calling. Okay. Appreciate the call.
Thanks.
So, I wanted to do a couple things today before we get too far along. The show's like flying by. And, last week I mentioned a book that I found that had testimonial stories by people who had cancer and who either took some treatment or didn't take any treatment and it went into remission. And there's no explaining it other than, some people would say faith, and that's what I would say is a huge part of it. And but some people, there were different factors involved. And so this author, this Kelly Turner, PhD, which I'm going to get her on the show. I haven't called her yet. I wanted to get through the book first, but this is my point. I'm getting to a point here, believe it or not. I talked about this last Sunday on the show, and lo and behold, Monday, an angel of a lady shows up at my office and brings me a copy of this book and said, I've had this book for so long, and I wasn't sure where it was, and I had to find it, and because I knew I had to get it to you. And because I hadn't bought the book yet, and forgive me, I forget your name. I didn't write your name down when you came in, but thank you so much to the lady that brought me this book in called Radical Remission by Kelly A. Turner, PhD. And if you have cancer, or if somebody in your family has cancer or some kind of a chronic illness, I highly recommend the book. I mean, just from what I've read of it so far, it's written in a positive slant. And that's all I would ask of a book like that, is to get people thinking positively, because there's too much negativity out there when it comes to treatment. Oh, you have 6 months to live, or you have 2 months to live. How do they know? Here's people in here that were given 2 months to live that are alive 20 years later. So, nobody really truly knows. There are statistics they can go by that maybe will get them close in a lot of cases. But honestly, I believe that a lot of it has to do with your will to live, and that has a lot to do with the power of your immune system. You can boost your own immune response by being positive, and when those negative thoughts come, and they will, trust me, they will. Every time I read these scientific studies and there's some kind of negative thing in there, it gets my mind off track on a negative track, and I have to almost slap myself back to reality. Hey, that's okay. That's their experience. It's like when you go to the oncologist and sometimes they're kind of down, and they're just not real positive about, you're gonna get over this, whatever. You need to stay focused, and you need to keep that positivity, because their experience is what dictates how they see things. And so everybody sees things with blinders on from one perspective or another. We need to learn to open those blinders up for ourselves and find the positive things in our lives that make us want to get up every morning. And, I don't care if you have a disease, if you have cancer or not. I don't care if you're like the healthiest person on earth right now. If you don't have a purpose for getting up every morning, you're going to have a health problem somewhere down the road. It is that purpose that drives us every day to do what we do. So do you have a broad purpose? Do you have a narrow purpose? Do you get up every day to go to work to earn money to pay your bills? That's not going to get you very far. your purpose has to revolve around service and care and helping others, and then the rewards, I believe, come from that. So I would encourage everyone to think about that. So I was going to tell you real quickly, though, too, about my experience with the heat this week. So, hot baths are the simple way, and it's great for me. I love simple-minded things because it's easy to understand. And so, the whole key with this, from what I've read about the heat treatment, is you can do it any way you want. They have high-tech ways that cost, millions of dollars, all the way down to taking a hot bath. But the key is to have a temperature of somewhere around 104 to 107 or 108 degree temperature, and to apply that over 60 to 80 minutes. So you have to apply it, and the best studies point to times over 60 minutes. Now, it could be 61 minutes or 62 minutes, but they're telling us that equal to or greater than 60 minutes is the way to go, and somewhere between 104 and really 107 and 108. So when we come back, I'll tell you a quick story about my experimentation with the temperature, because the higher the better in some cases, but I did a 117-degree bath that was pretty tough. I'll tell you in just a couple minutes. This is Dr. Vitko. We'll be back with you in a jiffy.
Welcome back to Incredible Health with Dr. David Vitko.